Before I came here today, I picked up a book, a gift of a friend of mine, Denise Lin. She wrote Sacred Space and other books on feng shui, and just a completely spiritual, wonderful woman. Her story is enormous. She was shot twice in the gut by someone on the highway in Arizona, and then she went in a deep spiritual space and became a great healer and teacher ever since. And so it's the idea of sacred space. In my home, you just feel peace. I don't intentionally put things here or there, and yet sometimes you do. So you do that with your home, and there'll be a flow. There'll be no hard spaces in it, you know, and you'll sit there, relax, and you're not impinged upon by something. And then on your interior space, it's the same thing. The thinking mind is caught in time, and if you just place it outside, if you write down 10 things happened on the way to work, and put it there, it'll stop looking for them. If you had a tremendous trauma the day before, if you write down what happened, then put it aside, acknowledge it without thinking about it, the day will become free. We've all had the same trials and errors, we've all been abused, and by the time we're 30, if we haven't broken the chain, it's not the world, and it's not, everyone's been brutalized in the world who has a soul. And so it's up to you to drop it, to be responsible, to live freely, heartily, fully, decently, kindly, but most of all, spiritually, divinely. We're in a divine kingdom. And if you read the works of all the spiritual people ever lived, you'll see that. Some had the essence of it, some believed in it fully, in a very balanced and stable and powerful way, and others were more poetic with it and touched it when they were in love, with romance. But if you practice these more serious disciplines of martial arts, of some form of yoga, meditation, there are so many self-enhancement techniques that work. There are many, many, many. And rather than going into them now, I'm just simply saying the process of what happens with all of them is you get out of your thinking mind. With meditation, you feel your sensorial field fall to your abdomen, and you'll be at peace. It's that simple. And then whatever's left in your thinking mind, look at a candle, a picture of Jesus or your mother or your lady friend or boyfriend, whatever it is, and you're like, oh, just love, just because it's your relationship with God is a romance. My friend reminded me today that it's, I said, you're an astrologer, Jessica, and she said, yeah, it's more like a song, the song of God. Now, well, that's what the Bhagavad Gita is. It's the song of God. And we talked about the Upanishads. And these are deep, deep spiritual, mystical statements and that have been taken down for 5,000 years in the Indus Valley, and just remarkable. And people, when I first was aware of them in college, maybe a long time ago, I was just so touched and moved. And yet it simply means sitting by devotedly, the Upanishads, or the Bhagavad Gita. That sounds so enormous spiritually. When you wake up to your spiritual place in this world, it's big. Oh, it's really real and forever powerful and deep, and it simply means sitting by devotedly, or the song of God. Everything spiritual is like Gibran-esque. You know, Khalil Gibran wrote The Prophet. Read that and all of his works, and it's so mystical, it's so wonderful, it's so remarkable. So I'm simply saying we can get out of our thinking mind very easily by some practice. We simply have to take it to fruition, which means to do it. Yesterday I did some depossessions with a friend of mine, and if you practice quieting your mind, then you can see presences with a friend, or you're dealing with someone, and you can be very quiet and see what it is, and you can actually address sub-personalities in a person, and they might be other beings than the person, but we all have sub-personalities that I have to be a certain way if I'm going to be with my buddies, and yet inside, 24 hours a day, I'm just like lighter than air. Nothing matters, I'm here. And yet you have to prove yourself in every different circumstance you're in. So I'm saying if you can train yourself to step aside of your difficulties, whatever they are, your stuff, your case, and you're spiritual, then you will truly be spiritual. So it's that simple. There is a God. You are God's essence. We're here in this place. If we read all the mystical literature from the beginning of time, it's relaxing to be a human being, to be kind, to be caring, to be true, to be decent, to be upright and honest and honorable, hardworking and decent, and in the middle of it be this mystical presence that we all are, that are spiritual. And yes, we fight the good fight, but if you work on your case, your individual difficulties from day to day, and your entanglement with certain people or business or life or family, and you can step aside with them, step aside from them by quieting the thinking mind, by using some of these practical spiritual enhancement techniques that are available to all of us. Please search out a few of them, and then you'll sit back quietly and devotedly, and you will be the song of God. We all are the song of God. In our heart, in our soul, we want love, we want romance, we want kindness, we want our mommy healed, we want everything that's right and good and true. And those that are hard and fast in this world, they've not stepped 1 inch aside from their case, and they're making a stand of being this or that or the other. Didn't matter if you're a great college athlete and you live your life in the back of you feel you can do things and you're confident, you feel attractive, or it's ridiculous to not be able to drop our case. This thing called heaven, God, divinity, the song of God, it's you. There's nothing to do, there's no cost, there's no price upon it. Just letting go, letting down. If you have a favorite place to do it, go there. And remind yourself how free and safe you feel there. Then when you go to this area or that area, like my friend Denise Lynn would do, and she ran a meditation, and it's the only meditation I wanted to ever go to in my life, because she was really, really, really spiritual. So I remember a place in Palo Alto one time, or Mountain View, she was teaching her, and it was just she'd say, now leave your bedroom, now feel the sky above. And because she was spiritual, it was in her voice, everyone would experience whatever she suggested. So suggest to yourself these, first of all, that you have a quiet time, that you believe in a higher power. But in spirituality and mysticism, you are the higher power. But it's not a power, it just is. So in my doing deep possessions, I'm saying this, I help people they have subpersonalities or things that are inflicting them from their whole life. There was abuse as a younger person, and I have them, I'm quiet with them, and then I have them be quiet with their case and look at view their own experience. And then at the point they feel so safe with it, and then I'll have them address whether it's a traumatic incident in their mind or an actual being. And so all of us are being worked on by the devil 24 hours a day, but if you quietly address it, yes Satan, no Satan, it's enormous. In other words, I don't actually address it and give it anything. I just see what it is, and I'll have a person see what it is. In other words, all these different crazy beings that run around my head all day. There's so much sand and foam, and the waves will keep hitting the shore. And take a swim to the other shore. Let go of your case, your problems, your difficulties. It's all in consciousness. It is that simple. So if you can get yourself quiet by using some of these practical spiritual enhancement techniques that are available also, then you'll see you can get yourself quiet, or you can address different areas of your beingness. And then at the point you find safe times, and then you'll find certain energies or thing, or you might have a neighbor or a girlfriend or boyfriend that calls you the wrong thing, you see, okay, or a family or somebody, oh, that's in the way. And if you address that quietly without reacting to it, you'll be shocked. You'll see the presence behind it that will always be, like in the Sherlock Holmes. Remember the books, but they had great movies about Sherlock Holmes many years ago. And no matter what happened, where the problem was, he was the great detective in England. But no matter what happened, how complex the case was, he always knew that it was Moriarty behind it, who was a professor in Germany, who was the devil kind of thing. And so no matter what it was, he would trace it back to Moriarty. And it's just an interesting way of doing it. And I'm simply saying the truth is you'll always step back, oh, Satan behind it. And if you look at Satan, Satan has a case. So there's all these complex beings running around. They have no power. They're nothing. They're no one. So you can have these images and you can address them quietly without reacting to them. So when I say ask Satan, no, you don't. Just be aware of it. And then you'll see the different kinds of energies coming from people, from sub-personalities, from friends that are messing with you. And you'll wind up like Denise Lynn, and you wake up in a sacred space. Because you are a sacred place for God. He's invested the entirety of the kingdom of heaven in your heart and soul. It's all yours. Spend a little time, but not giving yourself away, but not reacting to anything. It's wonderful, this process called meditation, reflection, contemplation. And you'll live the rest of your life there. I've lived through, I'm just simply, excuse me for abusing myself, but I've lived this all my life. I have many friends that are that way, and it just, no matter what we do or say, I'll see my friend Skip up and whatever, and here, and all. Danny is like the most spiritual person I met, and he runs a book company. And we're all, every now and then we contact each other, and it's the same, we laugh. It's the same, we're living the same, the Shugana, that's crazy, and yet it's the same crazy life, and it's the same kinds of incidents. My sister Eileen's quite spiritual. She's my twin sister. She's 14 months older. If I say that, she'll knock me out. But she's my sister, and so we always live like on different, always near an ocean, one or the other, and we're always going through the same circumstances, the same kinds of situations and people around us. It's so once you get into that, like with certain friends, you know, it's like groupings. So my friend Peter, he was in the CIA and combat marine, a friend of mine. We started an institute, and he asked me one time, because you know I'm very spiritual, about something with his family, because there was some bad things happening, and I said, yeah, it's like 400 or 500 years of the same people. You're born together with these certain people, family members, and you have a certain relationship, and it can change, and you run through the same stuff until you figure it out. So I helped him figure it out by saying, yeah, that's what it is. Oh, he let it go. A very brilliant young man, and that was that. So I'm saying with all of us, let it go. And Jesus Christ and the scripture said, you know, it's he who does not hate his own life for my name's sake. In other words, hate the stupidity of it. And he just said, you know, to be part of him. Like I said, for my yoke is easy. In other words, there's no burden with believing in that consciousness. That makes sense? It's so easy. That's why my friend J. Krishnamurti, he was like, he wouldn't say God or this or that. It would always be like the quiet of meditation. It's like just, no, there's nothing to react to. Nothing. You'd have to experience him when he's speaking, like I did in Delhi and San Francisco or whatever. It's just like, he wasn't trying to make anything out of it. He was just saying, chill. He's much more intelligent than me, so he said it in very fine language, but it's simply, there are no enemies. There's nothing to fight. It's like fighting without fighting type thing. From Sun Tzu, from the Art of War. It's just, if you can get that good at things, you'll know where things are happening. It's very quieting. You can do it in any You're going to gain mastery of anything in your life. I can't even make examples of it. It can be being a family member. You can attain mastery by being a perfect mom or dad or sibling, what it is, just friend, neighbor, and just, you got to look at it and figure it out and feel out what's the way people project themselves and what would really work. And if you know what really works, I can walk into any friend's business and they'll ask me questions, or somehow I'm a trusted person, and I'll know exactly what to do or say. I don't want to do it. It's too boring to be in the material world. But I'll do some things to help this gym going and Greg's work and so on. But it's not a big deal to get quiet and understand everything. So stop letting this thing run around your mind. That's it. Stop this thing and become what you are. You're God's song. There's nothing wrong with you. There's everything right with you. You are a divine presence. You're a wonder. You're a miracle in this world. And yet you're nothing to yourself, which is why we've been victims since birth, all the sensitive people. We've all gone through the same thing, which gets back to the original statement. By the time you're 30, is get your own place, get your own get employment, be responsible. In other words, if you don't break the chain by the time you're 30, it's you. We've all been abused in every way, psychologically, physically, emotionally, materially. It's all the same thing. But then you get quiet, you'll see that your mom, your uncle, your aunt, your sister, your boyfriend, girlfriend, somebody at the butcher shop was like, they've all been abused. So I say you get very quiet, you can see the circumstances in your case, and then you'll see a certain thing, a certain part of that's actually an actual being that's not you, that's kind of attached to you, and then you get very quiet, and you look at that very clearly. You can address it in the same way when I address people, I'm very quiet. Then what happened? Then okay, and I'm completely not evaluative if someone has been abused. I don't react to it a hairline. In other words, in my consciousness, I train myself, like my buddy Peter and his darling wife Rosamund. We just do not react to anyone or anything, no matter what they do or say. And you just check the facial indicators and this, body language. But without judging it, you're just aware. Like my buddy Greg's a 10th degree martial artist, and he said, unless you take a swing at him or a kick at him or pick up a weapon and start moving it towards him, he's like a little boy, like a little child, so quiet and calm all the time. And because he's a professional fighter and he is spiritual, so I'm simply saying, if he can do that with, how scary physical stuff is, why can't we do it with thoughts and feelings? Don't react to anything. Train yourself. That's why people who stare at a candle or a picture of God or their spiritual image, whatever it is, quietly, you exteriorize your concentration, which is where I began this with, sensorial field, quiet, all your emotions, with your breath down here, the hara, it's Japanese for the stomach. Let your breath fall down, and this concentrate on. A Buddhist monk or martial artist would concentrate on the floor 18 inches. Exteriorize your concentration, and it will go. That's why I talk about the thinking mind. It's the cerebral cortex. If you know how to step aside from that, oh, what a joy! How beautiful! You get to appreciate, to feel, to taste, to know, to love, to kiss, to hug, to not be afraid. It's wonderful to not be a fraidy cat. And it's sweet and endearing and inspiring to your friends. Don't be a scaredy cat. Be a menace to the devil by enjoying your life. Care, love, give. Whatever you give will be resupplied. Always and forever. You're something holy and true and kind and real and very, very intelligent. God knows. And I'm simply saying the world makes us feel like we got a missing part. If you do this, you are the song of God. And it's just a matter of a degree of experiencing grace. And if you know not to react to anything, and then you can help people around you, and you'll go, oh my God, and you can help the strangest people. You never thought, there's nuts, but they've never had anyone Just be there for them. Just listen. Acknowledge them. Everyone feels crazy because, especially today, no one listens to anyone ever for a moment. You'll say something and they'll throw something back like it's a bingo cage. Quiet yourself. Use some of those self-enhancement techniques. Create a sacred space. Address things in your home, they feel a certain way, and then inside your psyche. It's a wonderful world. Because it isn't. And it never was. And as soon as you do this, you'll free your mind, and the rest of you will follow. There's nothing you cannot do. You can uninvolve the whole world with its case by doing this. You're afraid of anything out there, some billionaire, some this, some that. Be very, very quiet and address it quietly without reacting to it. And you'll see that that person is driven by whatever. They just want to prove themselves to their friends or whatever it is. Somebody out there. There are no heroes or villains. There's just the quiet. You are the quiet of God. You're more precious to God than moonbeams. You cannot die. You will not die. No one ever died. And as soon as you get quiet, you'll find yourself in this field of wonder. Address it first by not reacting to anything, and it'll take a few months. You train yourself, and you'll uninvolve yourself from your case, from your buttons. Find out who installed your buttons. I remember I had someone who was really messed up, and I wrote a little card to address his case with his family because his buttons. I said, because your family installed the buttons, right? So just be quiet about it without reacting, and you won't be angry like this, and you can help everyone around you. It's fantastic, and that's how this whole thing can be emptied. Feng Shui your mind, your heart, your soul, and you'll find that many, many people you loved and cared for, they'll be in the same place with you. Because you can't get together with this one. It's a lost love or something. You'll be here in the quiet. You'll stop feeling guilty, guilt, remorse, and especially need, anger, fear, trepidation. When you get really quiet and look at it, everything's in consciousness. First address the physical, like Denise Lynn said, sacred space, make things right, and then the internal landscape. You'll be very, very happy. You're a very, very good person, aren't you? You want the right thing all the time, don't you? And the world's been hell, hasn't it? Uninvolve yourself by finding a few of these self-enhancement techniques that work for you. And I'm a spiritual teacher, so spiritual teachers have said things to me in time, then over the years, and then something in my life will happen. It's all in consciousness. God's aware of everything all the time, that which we call God, which is an infinite mind of purity and beauty. And you addressing it, let it go, and you will find God looking out through your eyes. It's really wonderful. And yet God will be in the most minute circumstance helping you address this thing or that. And one day, there won't be you or God, there's just this unimaginable, precious sense. We call it God, but God calls it you. It's always been you. So step away from the things that have conditioned you, address them, write them on a piece of paper, put them aside without reacting to them. Like I did with my friends years ago, and we trained other people to do it. And you can make everyone happy by simply listening to them, and rather than reacting, get very quiet. Not to everyone all the time, because some people are just born to push buttons, and avoid them, and after a while, their ability to press your buttons or any buttons will dissipate and disappear, because you'll heal everything around them, and they'll fall through a trap door. And that'll be it. And there'll be peace everlasting. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Mr. Skolton.